taking Facebook to 1 billion users, which is where Facebook is right now. Obviously, you might have heard of Facebook. And they're going to talk about, from a design and product perspective, and predictions about where the next billion from Facebook is coming. Good luck with that. That's tough. That's a tough one. And how they'll behave on mobile phones and other interfaces. So Julie Zhao is Director of Product Design at Facebook, critical job there. And Naomi Gleit is Senior Director of Product Management. Julie is started at Facebook, he's focusing on newsfeed notifications and new mobile initiatives, a critical part of Facebook's future, as you have read many times, and as Wall Street is looking at very carefully. She's been at Facebook since 2006, where she's seen the site grow from 8 million users to 1 billion. She's inventor of the Facebook platform and Facebook Connect, and was primary designer of the external like button, the commenting widget, and other Facebook social plugins across the web. Thank goodness she didn't do the poke thing. Julie graduated from, that would have given me many, many joke opportunities. Julie graduated from Stanford with a BS and an MS in computer science, where she was a Mayfield Fellow and coordinated CS 198 program of student computer science instructors. Naomi is a Senior Director of Product Management, as I said, of User Growth and Engagement at Facebook. She's the second most tenured employee next to Mark, or Marcia, as I like to call him. She worked on programs like internationalization, intending to break adoption barriers, as well as data-driven optimization flows like registration, new user experience, and friend finding. These are two very important Facebook employees. Let's bring them on.
All right. Thanks, Cara. Hi. Hey, it's great to be here. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, this is our favorite way to be spending it, actually. Okay, let's get started. We know we have 1 billion users. When I joined, there were just over 1 million. Julie and I are going to talk about our experience scaling the site from 1 million to 1 billion. Before I get there, I want to give you some fun facts about women on Facebook. There's roughly half male, female on Facebook, but women are way more active. They have 16% more friends. They upload the majority of photos on Facebook, and they spend 30% more time on Facebook. So we're glad. When I first joined Facebook, I knew that I wanted to work on growth because I thought it was the most important thing that I could do to help the company at the time. And even though there was no growth team, I started by working on projects that I thought were important to growth. For example, launching high school networks and internationalization, which I'll talk about later. But in 2007, we decided that growth was important enough that we wanted to actually have a dedicated team focusing on it, and this is a model that I've seen replicated other companies as well. A lot of people ask me, what's your team's approach to growing Facebook, and it's pretty basic. It's 1, 2, 3, understand, identify, execute, and I'm going to walk you through each of these steps. So understand, in 2007, we actually had no data, and the growth team's responsibility was to optimize the flows that are important to growth. For example, user acquisition, activation, and virality flows like registration, new user experience, and friend finder, contact importer, that kind of stuff. And without any data, we were kind of just blind. We were like throwing spaghetti at a wall, or like chickens, you know, running around without our heads. And I was like, you know what? We're not going to do anything else for 2 months. We are not launching anything. We are not doing anything that will actually ship. We're just going to instrument data, logging and analysis. Everything on the site is a conversion funnel. How many people come in, how many people come out, and where do we lose them along the way? Because until we do that, I couldn't answer the question, are all of our systems actually working? Like, are there bugs? And are there areas for improvement or opportunities where there are huge drop-offs? I didn't know the answers to those questions until we implemented these waterfall analyses for all of our growth critical flows. And in terms of what we should do, it was very clear after we looked at the data. First of all, we needed to fix the bugs, and there were a lot of them. Our invitation flow didn't actually work if you tried to invite more than 500 people. It just timed out on the async tier. So before we optimize text here or tweak the design there, we should really fix that bug. And then we found huge drop-offs in some of our flows. For example, at registration, there was a 20% drop-off when we required email confirmation. And Julie's going to talk about how we dealt with that drop-off later. So The answers around what we should do become pretty clear once you have the data. And it doesn't need to be just quantitative data, it could also be qualitative data as well. So we also work with the UEX team to run surveys and user testing. In terms of execution, my team is a very fast-moving team. We operate on 2-month roadmap cycles. We break down the team into small task forces. And we try and A/B test stuff as quickly as possible and run as many tests as we can at the same time. So move fast. I think done is better than perfect. Move quickly. The story of growth is really a story about removing barriers, though. I think we've been in a good enough position, lucky enough, to actually have people who want to use our product but can't for whatever reason. And these barriers to using Facebook can be big or small, and I will talk about the big ones. In terms of Facebook in 2005, it was just a college site. It was just at a few colleges, and students at other colleges wanted to use it too. So the first barrier that we removed was just launching it to all these other colleges outside of, Harvard, Stanford, Cornell, I think were the first schools. And then our brothers and sisters in high school wanted to get on the site and see what was going on there too. And so in 2005, like I mentioned, we launched Facebook for high school students. In 2006, we launched open registration, which removed the school barrier, so anyone with any email address could actually register for Facebook. And again, that really impacted our growth trajectory. And in 2008, we removed the language barrier. We saw people on Facebook trying to communicate on Facebook with their friends and family that spoke other languages, and now we support over 70 languages on Facebook. And more recently, we've been trying to remove the barrier of having access to a computer by creating rich Facebook experiences on a variety of phones. So you can actually sign up for Facebook on your phone and have a whole experience, mobile only. So Julie's going to talk about some of our smaller barriers.
So Naomi mentioned, removing a lot of the large macro barriers, and I actually like to define micro barriers as the product and design decisions that get in the way, the little quirks that prevent your users from being able to get the experience that you want them to have. Back, in 2007, when we started the growth team and we started instrumenting a lot of the data and understanding how users were even getting onto the site, one of the first things we looked at was the registration flow. And this is, a pretty standard registration flow. It's pretty similar to what you would see on a variety of sites across the internet. So the user has to come visit the site. They have to fill out a number of forms, type in your email address, maybe give a date of birth, create a password. Then they have to submit the form and click the button, actually. And then they have to pass validation where, we want to make sure that they're not 3 years old or something. And then finally, we send them to this page that says, hey, now we need to confirm your email address to make sure that you're a real person, you're not like a robot. So go to your inbox and click on this email from us. Now, as you can see, there's quite a few steps here, and every time you add an extra step that the user has to go through, you're at a risk for losing some people along the way. So one of the first things we did was just look at this list and ask ourselves, is there any way that we can remove one of these steps, just streamline the process a little bit? And it turns out there was a way. We could remove the confirm email step. Now, keep in mind, this step is important to just know that this person is real and that their email address works and that we can get in touch with them in case there are critical things that happen, like they forget their password. We know how to get in contact with them. But if you think about it, there's really no way that we have to roadblock them and not let them have access to any of the aspects of Facebook if they didn't go and click their email address at that moment after they complete registration. So we decided to actually let the person into our site and actually be able to use the features. Maybe they can start searching for friends. Maybe they can start inviting new friends to use the service. Maybe they can start playing some games. And just to remind them that we haven't quite confirmed that they're a user, we'll put a little banner at the top. But another just great aspect of letting the user be able to access the site without a confirmed email address is that as they start to explore, as they start to invite their friends, then stuff will happen and we'll actually send them other emails. Hey, this friend you invited actually joined Facebook. Hey, this friend sent you a message. And if the user goes and checks their email and actually clicks on any of those other emails, then that actually that does the job of confirming that they're in fact a user. So we can remove the pesky step of specifically getting them to click on that one email that we send, and it's kind of a win-win for us, and it's a win-win for users. It makes things a little bit easier. Another thing that we looked at when we streamlined registration was the actual registration form itself. And this is a screenshot of what we had back in 2007. So as you can see, it's not the worst thing. I mean, you know, it's not like horribly, horribly complicated, but there were definitely some things that we could improve. We've got a bunch of boxes inside of boxes. We're asking you for a number of things. We've got a big CAPTCHA at the bottom, and I think your first impression upon seeing this is, well, this is going to take me a while. One of the designers decided to actually take a stab at trying to make this a little bit simpler and more streamlined and see what we can get out of it. And so he took a couple of days, and this is what he came up with. So at first glance, it's already a lot fresher, and it seems a lot simpler. So one of the things that's interesting is like all of those fields that we asked you for, we couldn't actually remove any of them. We really did need to ask you to fill out the CAPTCHA, and we needed your date of birth, and all of this was pretty critical information. But what the designer did was actually split up that flow into a couple of steps so that each of these steps would seem really a lot simpler. So when you first get here, we're only asking you for 5 things, and then when you move on to the next step, then there's a CAPTCHA. And his thinking was, when you get people just into the flow, by the point that you're asking them to fill out a CAPTCHA, it doesn't seem that complicated, and that more people will complete the registration flow. We ended up A/B testing this, and the results were great. What this resulted in was about 9 million more people joining Facebook in the course of a year just by this one design change. No functionality changes, just by improving the design. And there were optimizations like this everywhere, and that's one of the, I think, most fantastic things about the growth team is just we're finding all of these small barriers and just smoothing them out so that users can have the experience we want them to have on Facebook. I want to end by talking a little bit about the next 1 billion users and how we're thinking about that at Facebook. So, of course, we still have many other macro barriers to get through. Some of these things are inside of our control, and some of these things, frankly, are a little bit outside of our control. Things like, age and government regulations, and the fact that, some people just can't access Facebook in certain countries. But I think one of the biggest opportunities for us out there is the fact that, really, today, only 1.5 billion people have access to the internet, and the world is 7 billion people strong. And more of those users who previously couldn't get connected are starting to get connected with mobile devices in all parts of the world. And that represents a huge opportunity for us in terms of making sure that we can make Facebook accessible to those users, and also that we're making the right products for them and their use cases. But taking a step back as well, I think looking forward, Facebook in the future isn't just about getting more and more users to use the exact same service that we have today. Technology is still evolving, and innovation is still happening, and people are coming up with new and better ways to share every day. Many of you guys out in the audience are working on some of these ideas. And we can't just sit still at Facebook and say, oh, we've got a product, and now we just need to get more and more people to use it. When Facebook started, this was what it looked like. How many of you guys actually remember this version? All right, quite a few hands in the audience. It's very, very simple. I mean, clearly, we had this creepy guy, in the corner. It was nothing really like it was today. The site is just basically a directory of people, and it was, you can put up a photo of yourself and a bunch of text, describing who you were and what you liked. And over the years, we've added more and more features to Facebook to try and make it a richer experience. In 2006, we came out with Newsfeed, which was a product that tried to make it more efficient for you to keep track of what was going on with your friends. We added the ability to post statuses. That wasn't there in the very beginning. We added ways to chat with your friends, play games with your friends, and most recently we came out with a service called Graph Search, which lets you search on information that pivoted around the concept of you and what your friends like. This is what Facebook looks like today. It's not just a website, it's also on all mobile devices. It's on tablets and Android devices and iPhones, and also on feature phones and Nokia devices. And we will continue to expand where technology takes us. who knows? I mean, maybe in 3 years, this is what we'll all be. You know, the interface to access the internet will be on your skin, or maybe it'll be through goggles, or maybe it'll be chips embedded into every device that you touch. But it's important to know that our product has to keep evolving. Everybody's product has to keep evolving. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. And we have a lot of teams at Facebook who are just coming up with new ways to push the boundaries of our product and in order to try and achieve our mission of making the world more open and connected. Thank you, guys. And
thanks. I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Yes.
And I'm not going to, the crowd is, although that hand thing's freaking me out right now. You know they're up to that up there. Actually, you know, I'm thinking the Google people are probably up to that. I'm not as scared of you as the Google people. You should be scared of the Google people. Keep that in mind. I'm married to a Google executive. I'm scared of her. Okay. Let us get some questions from the audience, please. And I would require questions. Here we go.
Hi. We're hearing a couple of common themes today, both from Cloudflare, SurveyMonkey, and now yourselves, around the notion of tracking what's going on your site, making decisions based on data, as well as internationalization in mobile and thinking about that sooner rather than later. The third piece is optimization. Most of the speakers have mentioned that today. So I'm hoping that you could share with us whether or not there's particular tools that you've found helpful in setting up some of those A/B tests, or if it's something that Facebook does proprietarily, whether it's Optimizely or SiteSpect, or just some tools that you found that have been good in setting that up, and what are key things to keep in mind when you're running those tests.
you want to take that?
No, you.
Okay.
How about one of you?
I mean, I think a lot of the tools that we use at Facebook, we have actually made them ourselves. Our A/B testing framework is really, really robust and allows any team at Facebook, any product team, to be able to launch small experiments to a really small fraction of our users, and to be able to vet the data on a large scale. So a lot of that stuff, we actually have internal teams that are developing and constantly improving. I think that one of is not so much even the tools as kind of the culture and the process towards building and launching products that are well vetted. And I think that at a company of our scale, I mean, it used to be back in 2007, 2008, we'd finish a product and we'd immediately flip on the switch because we were all just so excited to get it out the door, and then we would wait and see what happened. And that's just a little bit irresponsible to do nowadays at being like at the size that we are, and so we do want to be very careful.
I was just thinking in my head, hence beacon, but go ahead, move along.
Exactly. I mean, we've learned a couple lessons through the years. But all of the new things that we launch, and you guys might notice, like we'll launch them and we'll announce them and we'll start to the process of testing them out. And the rollout could take multiple months before we're really certain that we have built the right things that solves the right problems.
So Facebook builds a lot of stuff because being a pioneer in the social networking space, a lot of stuff doesn't fit properly. A lot of stuff they're doing around ads and things like that now or have to be Facebook only kind of stuff.
Yeah, the only thing I would add, you asked what to think about when you're running an A/B test, and the thing that I've learned the most is that you never know what's going to win. A lot of times, I'm like, I'm absolutely sure this is going to perform better, this text is better, and we'll run hundreds of different experiments at the same time, like using different words in the subject line of an email or using a different graphic in an ad, and a lot of times it's just, I cannot believe that's the winner.
And you just do it anyway sometimes based on instinct?
Will we ever?
Yeah, just say, I don't care what people think. We're just...
Yeah, I mean, it's not all about the winner.
Right.
There are a lot of things that go into choosing a winner. Like,
I call that the Steve Jobs version of things. I don't really care what you think. Okay, next.
Hi. I think it's really interesting how you focused on registration, because I think that's definitely a make or break for a ton of startups, mine, and I'm sure a lot in this room. But then there's this trend of security and safety, which I can see Facebook is finally catching on to. So how do you create a short and easy registration process, but also create one that's secure? Because not confirming email address just kind of means, oh, anyone can get in, even though that's an awesome step to get in. Mm-hmm. Can you recommend anything you're looking into or doing for those of us that want to create an easy and secure rego process and not to lose people?
In general, I see the job of my team is to find win-wins. By that I mean win-win-win-wins. Like, wins for the user experience, and they perform better, and they're more secure, and they're better from a design perspective. And an example is the registration process. Julie mentioned that we removed the requirement to have email confirmation. But what we did do is when the user clicks on an email notification like so-and-so added you as a friend, that actually proves ownership of a unique email address and proves that this is like an individual and not a bot. Another example is if they use the friend finder with a unique email address, that also proves ownership of an email because they have to enter their email password. So really trying to, that's an example of a win-win where it's like an elegant solution that's better from a design perspective, user experience perspective, a product perspective, and it performs better. Yeah, in terms of designing a registration process, Julie?
Yeah. One other thing to add, and I didn't get into the details of this during the actual presentation, but like we do actually have a lot of safeguards. Like, you know, when you're a user and your email hasn't been confirmed, we don't actually let you do everything that a user could do. So for example, we'll limit the number of messages you can send to people because otherwise that would be a vector for spam. And we'll limit the number of even people that I think you can add friends because once we start to notice suspicious behavior, then we kind of have to like cut that off. So a lot of other things were kind of tweaked to make this experience possible while not compromising security.
Sorry to follow up.
Oh, very quick.
Really quick. That's great for the people getting in. Do you have any communication from your current users who are concerned about people, you know, getting in without you communicate? I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I don't know if there's any communication to how you let people in to the current users. Do they care? Do they not care?
Okay. I mean, most of I think like one of our policies is really to just be able to give everybody the kind of privacy that they want. And so many users will restrict all of their content to friends only. And in that case, no matter who signs up, you know, they're not going to be able to see it unless that person has confirmed that this person's a friend. Otherwise, if something is public, then it's accessible to everybody, you know, on the web, regardless of whether they're a registered user or not.
The other thing that we measure when we run A/B tests is not just increases in positive metrics, but any increase in negative metrics. So we have a lot of factors that indicate negative engagement, like if someone's receiving spam from someone on the site or gets an unwanted message. And when we ran this test, in addition to seeing registration go up, we didn't see negative engagement metrics actually go up as well. So it was neutral. So in that sense, you need to look at both the good and the bad.
Great. Okay. When are you getting to the next billion? Because you're going to have to bring my mother on this group. So.
Soon.
Soon?
Yeah.
Soon? Okay, I'll hold you to that. Okay,
All
great.
right, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
last
you guys.
present. Thank you very much, you guys.